Welcome back, Hand Axe and Satchel viewers. In today's video, despite what you may think by looking at the screen, it has nothing to do with bass, so let's just get rid of that. Today's video is on trout. Now, for trout, I'm going to be giving you everything you need. This will be my example of a real worm, because I don't have a real worm on hand, but let's dive right into the video. Let's go. Alright, starting off with actually what I just showed you. So this, a real worm, pretend, just use your imagination, guys. You're going to want to just hook this on to a tiny little hook. Now, when I first saw these, I thought these were pretty much exclusively for panfish. They are not. These are the best for catching rainbow trout, in my opinion, because rainbow trout, unlike largemouth bass, which can just hook and just grab on to hooks of this size and just like attack them, rainbow trout do not have big mouths. They're not called largemouth trout. So you just hook it on and you put it underneath a bobber, and I will show you that right here. If I can just get this hook away. This little setup. Now there'd normally be more, pretend that this isn't tangled for one, and normally there'd be more line in between the bobber and the bait, but you can use this little power bait. Power bait is extremely effective. Normally I would use garlic. This is glitter. I don't know what that is anyway. But which one is that? Oh, that is garlic. Yes. Yeah, so normally I would use garlic. That was extremely effective. You put that on a hook. I'm actually using a hook too big, but for demonstration purposes. And you would put that around maybe 2 feet underneath a bobber, and that with a split shot. You have to remember those split shots, because sometimes the powered bait actually does float. Another thing that's really effective is salmon eggs. You'll put the salmon eggs on these little hooks again. These are like salmon egg samples. You can put these on without actually using salmon eggs. These ones can last for multiple fishing trips, which is nice because salmon eggs do not. You just slide these on, and with enough of those, you can end up getting something that looks like that, where the hook is barely visible, but when it bites down, the hook will become visible. Next, if you want a more exciting game, because just bobber fishing is, or bottom fishing. Oh, and I forgot to show you bottom fishing. This. Take off the bobber, pretend. Then that will then sit on the bottom, and a lot of times this will float up, which I know you can't see, but it'll look something like this. Say this is the bottom. It'll float up with this at the bottom. You can normally leave like 2-3 feet right here, and it'll float off, and then the trout will come and bite this. So, all different ways of doing it. But next, if that seems a bit boring to you, you can use spinners. These spinners are very effective. They spin through the water. If you haven't seen it, go check out my video on how lures look actually underwater. It was very interesting. I was actually shocked by the results. But here are some spinners. You just need something that's shiny enough to get their attention, flick through the water. These types, like these spoons right here, can be trolled through the water. Talk about the least amount of work necessary. But you can troll those through the water. Once again, I recommend using this power bait. It's probably going to be more effective than either of those. Also, I know I just mentioned it, but in case you didn't listen, the worms. Worms are probably going to be most effective for catching any fish on Earth, so I would definitely recommend using those. Another thing you're definitely going to want to have in your tackle box. There goes that. Another thing you're definitely going to want to have in your tackle box is a measuring tape, ruler, whatever you want to call it, because most people do not catch trout for sport. They are probably caught for eating, and when you have regulations, you want to make sure that you are following those regulations. Got it? So you're going to want to keep that on hand. Another thing that I'm going to be recommending is the correct type of reel. Just a small reel. You can see it compared to the size of my hand. Pretty small, but what you're going to want to do is definitely have it. Wow, I'm just pulling drag by doing, oh, it's tangled. That's why. You're going to want a small reel. Definitely, I would recommend, if you're going trout fishing, the type of reel that has a drag. That way you'll be able to hear it without having to watch your rod constantly. Because if you hear this, you know something's off. Or actually, you know something's on. Next thing I'm going to be recommending is rods. Yes, if you've been watching the channel, you know that this rod that I have, this whoop and stick rod, I think it is a medium. No, it's not. It's a light. Who am I kidding? And it had, there goes those rods. Anyway, it had a tip on it, but a fiberglass tip would be really nice for this kind of thing, because it will let you see the rod bend a lot easier. I'll give a better demonstration. This might be too light of a rod to be doing trout for, but if you really want to have a whole lot of, this is a Abu Garcia ultralight. So yeah, It's pretty darn light, but it'll give you a good fight for them. Because a lot of trout only get like 6, 7, not only get, but the most trout that you're going to be catching are probably 6, 7 inches. So look at this bend. This will let you see very clearly if trout bite, because a lot of times they have little hesitant bites. Only the big ones, even the big ones will have a very tiny, little soft hesitant bites. So you have to be careful to pick up on those. Next thing I was going to say is line strength. You don't need heavy line. 6-pound line will probably do it. It'll give you a good fight. If you really want to just be guaranteed to catch it, you can probably just be absolutely guaranteed with 10-pound line. The reel that goes on that ultralight that you just saw is actually this one. This only has 2-pound line, which could be, and you can catch trout with that. The only problem is if you do hook into a trophy size trout, they're probably going to get away with that, and having big fish get away is exactly why you probably came to this channel. Oh, and if you did come to this channel, please subscribe. I don't have a hand motion for that, but do it because I think you really enjoy the rest of the content. And if you've ever had a big fish get away, please subscribe, because in this channel I want to help people not lose big fish. So with that, I can say, remember, use spoons, baits, spinners. Remember to keep this on hand so you can check how big they are. You don't need big rods or big reels. You'll be fine with something pretty darn small. That's one of the reasons that trout fishing is so accessible. Also, remember, worms, great for trout. You don't need to use 50-pound line, never necessary. And with that, I can say, have a great day. Hand Axe and Satchel signing off. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Bye.